The other day I was in a local shop and had a really delicious pastry along with a cookie. I didn't know much about the history of this pastry, but I figured there must be a history there. Turns out there is, which is why we're going to explore it on today's WTF. Today's sponsor is Chef's Little Helper, and you can visit it online at chefslittlehelper.com. Chef's Little Helper is an iPhone app and an iPad app that's all about helping you cook. There are tons of recipes in the platform, something about maybe 14,000, so there are a lot of them. You can also enter your own recipes and share them with friends and discover other recipes through the application. Form a shopping list. You can even put together a cookbook through the platform. And I uploaded today's recipe to my iPad, and so if you download Chef's Little Helper, you can get the recipe on your iPad and cook along with me today. Check them out online at chefslittlehelper.com. Alright, so we're talking about shortbread. Shortbread is a type of unleavened bread or cookie that can be both sweet and savory. Unleavened means it doesn't have a leavening agent in it, so it stays kind of flat and thin as opposed to a cake which rises and puffs up. History shows us that the shortbread that we have today is the cousin of a medieval biscuit from Scotland. The biggest difference between what we have now and then is that back then they were using yeast instead of butter inside of the product, which created a very different texture. It was also baked twice. Today we just bake it once. So why the name short? Well, short comes from the word shortening, but really there's this whole category of doughs that are called short doughs. Sometimes they have shortening, sometimes they have butter in them, but basically they're doughs that have a really high fat content to them, so high in fact that the doughs generally crumble apart. Some other cousins in the same family would be a pie crust, a scone, or a biscuit. Many people believe that the shortbread kind of made its way on the map in the 16th century when Mary, Queen of Scots, decided that she wanted to refine it. She made it into a round shape and also added caraway seeds to the once bland biscuit, and the modern shortbread was born. Today you'll find all different types of shortbread in all different shapes. Sometimes shortbread have an imprint on them, which gives them sort of a decorative edge. They're generally pretty easy to make, and they also kind of range in color. Historically, it was considered faux pas to have colored shortbread. You wanted your shortbread to be very blonde in color, so people would bake it for a longer period of time at a lower temperature. Today, you'll find shortbreads that are golden brown. I think that we now associate the golden color with a little bit of sweetness and caramelization, and so maybe they're more attractive. Me, personally, I like the blonde shortbread. I think it's very elegant. Fun fact about shortbread, it's not a bread. It's nothing near a bread. In Scotland, historically, there was a tax levied on top of biscuits, or cookies as we might call them. So in order to avoid that tax, bakers thought, well, let's rename these products to shortbreads, classify them as a bread which didn't have the tax, and sell them for a lower price point. That business decision actually helped make them really popular all throughout the country. Traditionally, shortbread comes in a lot of different shapes. You can get it as a round pie-like shape with multiple pieces inside of it. You can also have little round discs, or you can have long, oblong, finger-like shortbreads. Today we're going to stick to the traditional flavors, which is butter, sugar, a little vanilla, some flour, and caraway. And we're going to make a big round one that you can share with your friends and family. First, preheat an oven to 350 degrees. Butter an 8.5-inch round cake or springform pan. Sift together 2 cups of all-purpose flour with 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt. In a stand mixer, cream 1 cup of butter until softened. When the butter is light in texture, add 1/2 cup of white sugar and cream that together until it's white again. You may have to use a silicone spatula to scrape down some of the goodness from the side of the bowl if it's built all the way up. Now add your flour mixture and turn your mixer on very slow. Very slow, or it's going to puff up and get you totally covered in flour. Then add 1 teaspoon of caraway seeds and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Once it's incorporated and the dough sticks together when squeezed, press the dough into your prepared pan. Use a paring knife to score it into wedges and prick it all over with a fork. Bake until just firm in the center and starting to get color, about 30 to 45 minutes. Let it cool completely, then cut it into wedges. This will stay in an airtight container for about 3 weeks, but you'll eat it very quickly. It's great as a dessert, or you can also have it for breakfast, which is when I probably like to eat it the most. Tune in tomorrow for another What's This Food? Be sure to check out chefslittle.helper.com, and if you have something you want me to cover, you can post it in the comments below. See you tomorrow.